we might start with, this is Terry, by the way. We thought we might start with people who are online just introducing themselves. Maybe briefly tell us about you and your institution that you're with. And I'll start. I'm with Western Illinois University, which if you've ever been in Illinois, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere on the western side of the state, the bump out that's close to Iowa. We're a 4-year public university. I am the director of scholarships here. Our enrollment is around 12,000, and we have up in the Quad Cities, an hour and a half away, we have another campus. And my scholarship program is very decentralized across the campus. So that's one of the things that I'm interested in hearing from other students. And I've been here 31 years, with 26 of it in financial aid, and then I just started 5 years ago up here in the scholarship office.
That sounds great, Terry. So I think maybe the best way to do this, since everybody's on the phone, is maybe I'll take roll, and then you can, if you're on the call, you can introduce yourself, so that way people don't start speaking at once. Helen Carter, I'm just going to do alphabetical. Helen Carter, are you on the call? It looks like maybe you are. Maybe I see her name, but maybe she's not quite connected yet. Samantha Cardy. Tam Doan. No. Jennifer Fisher. No. Kanda Guthmiller. Philip Hang.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Philip Hang. I'm Assistant Director of Financial Aid, overseeing the scholarships at the University of Michigan Flint. So the University of Michigan Flint is part of the University of Michigan. It's one of the regional campuses. We also have a University of Michigan Dearborn as well. Flint is located in Genesee County in Michigan, so it's kind of like the middle of, people from Michigan, we use our hand to kind of say where we're from, I don't know, as the mitten, but we're kind of like in the middle of the state there. So we oversee our scholarships, or I oversee the scholarships here. We have about 200 and growing amounts of donor-funded scholarships, which I primarily oversee, and we also have a handful of merit-based awards that are available to students, first-time students as admissions awards as well. So yeah, curious to hear how everyone does things. We have a kind of a, when you mean decentralized, you mean like decentralized from or centralized from the entire institution, or just like separate from like how I'm kind of confused about how we define that. So I would say that our scholarships are decentralized from the greater University of Michigan system. Like each campus handles them on their own, in their own way. So curious to see how everyone does that as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Philip. So Anne Hardy, you're next. If you could introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Anne. I'm the director of the Scholarship Office, Northern Illinois University. We are obviously in the northern part of Illinois. We're about 60 miles west of Chicago. We have 19,000 students, and hopefully that number doesn't fall too much this next year. We are also a decentralized campus. And Philip, to answer your question, I think what Terry and I think of as when we say decentralized is that all of our campus units, the colleges, the academic departments, other departments are making their own scholarship decisions kind of in a bubble rather than having one centralized area. So ours is kind of a combination of both. So my office coordinates all of these centralized scholarships, so the institutional merit scholarships, the institutional tuition waivers, anything that's, eligible, everybody is eligible comes through me. And then, business does their scholarships, engineering does their scholarships. So that is very decentralized. And we're working very hard towards trying to use all of our scholarship dollars more strategically and in a more centralized fashion. So we're hoping to get some software to help with that, and I think hopefully we'll have time to get to that part of our conversation later today.
Thank you so much, Anne. Brenda from Western Carolina University.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Brenda Holcomb. I'm Director of University Scholarships, and Western Carolina University is one of the public schools in the University of North Carolina system. Our enrollment right now is about 10,300. We've grown quite a bit over the last few years. My position is relatively new. I've just celebrated my 3rd year anniversary in this role. Before that, I worked in admissions and awarded merit-based scholarships, and then transitioned and did true financial aid work before moving into this position. I would say right now we're kind of a blend between centralized and decentralized. It's been fairly decentralized, but you know, I think it was Anne that you mentioned you're trying to be more efficient with your money and your resources,
Yes.
and that's kind of leading us to be a little bit more centralized in giving more or providing more oversight and direction to the academic departments in particular. So just anxious to hear what everybody has to say and hopefully keep us on a good path.
Great. Thank you, Brenda. Next person is Deborah Palka. Deborah, can you hear us? Or we can't hear you. Okay, we'll move down to Malia Peters from the University of Hawaii.
Oh, hi, aloha. Can you folks hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Aloha, everyone from Hawaii. Well, everyone's talking about where you're located, but I think you know we're far out in the Pacific here. So I am with the UH Foundation. I realize I'm kind of a different person in the list of attendees here on the phone. I'm on the development side, the advancement side, raising funds, but I'm very involved and interested in how other universities are administering scholarships, because of course this does affect the development and fundraising work that we do here at the UH Foundation. We are an interesting place because we have 10 campuses here in Hawaii. We have our main campus, which is our primary research institute, which has about 20,000 students. And then we have 2 other baccalaureate degree campuses, one on the west side of our island, which is the complete opposite side, that is kind of a newer campus, has about 8,000 students. And then we have a campus in Hilo on the Big Island, which has another 8,000 students. And then we have our 7 community college campuses throughout all of the islands. So our job at the UH Foundation is to service all 10, and my area is the Director of Scholarship Development. I've been here for 17 years, and what my position does is I work with all of the development staff to raise funds, and we make sure in my office that the agreements are in compliance with university policy, IRS policy for charitable purposes. And then my department also handles all of the scholarship payment to students throughout all 10 of our campuses. So we're raising on average right now about $30 million a year. About 10 to 15,000 of that is actual cash, and then the rest is through estate and gift planning. And then we're paying out about $11 million a year to students across the 10 campuses. So very complex work. I'm kind of in a unique position in that I'm on the both fundraising and funds being paid outside. And so I do work closely with all 10 of our financial aid offices, and We have some campuses that have a centralized process, and then of course our biggest campus is all decentralized and causes havoc. But I think we're always looking to improve, and I'm hoping to get some of my University of Hawaii colleagues on board with some of the ideas that I learned through all of you. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to further discussion.
Thank you so much, Malia. Next person is Sarah from Indiana State University.
Hello, how is everyone today?
Great, thank you.
Great.
I also have one of my colleagues here, Francie Rubin. She works on the system side of things here at Indiana State. Someone mentioned kind of being a blend. We have a centralized, what we call scholarship office that facilitates the awarding of institutional merit-based scholarships, as well as all of the scholarships that go through our Indiana State University Foundation. So when I say facilitate the awarding, is we manage our online scholarship system. We funnel all the information on the selections through financial aid, and then the various departments actually make the selections for those scholarships. So again, it's a little bit of a blended approach. So in Indiana State, we're in Terre Haute. We have just under 13,000 students.
Great, thank you so much. Then we have Susan from University of Colorado in Boulder, which is right next door to where I am. Great. Hi, Susan.
Hi. Susan Utes. I'm Associate Director, and we are the flagship campus. It's a 3-campus system. We're located in Boulder, which is about 30 miles up the road from Denver. We are part of the financial aid office, and we have a scholarships unit that does financial aid and scholarships. We do some central awarding of foundation scholarships and merit awards, but then we do have decentralized awarding across the campus. We are implementing to go live this fall with Academic Works, so we are hoping to use that product to make a push to centralize some of the awarding and bring a lot of those departmental awards into the tool and get some centralization. And I would say our enrollment is probably topped 30,000.
Thanks, Susan. Sounds like Deborah from University of Buffalo is on now. Deborah, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. Thank you for your patience. I circled back and called in. Hi, everyone. I'm in a new position at the University of Buffalo as Director of Strategic Scholarship Initiatives. Our campus is also a flagship institution in the SUNY system, State University of New York, system of 64 campuses. We have 30,000 students roughly here, and a very diffuse and confusing kind of array of scholarships and how they're offered and how they're administered, and that is why this position was created, to look at that strategically and determine again how to best use our funds, and then also bridge over into the fundraising realm, which is where most of my some of my experience is in higher ed. So very happy to be here and happy to be able to hear that we have a broad range of people, and also that someone is using Academic Works, because we've been looking seriously at that for quite a few months now.
Wonderful, thank you. And Helen, looks like you have rejoined us. Can you hear us? We were having troubles hearing. We still can't hear you. So is there anyone else on the line who didn't have a chance to introduce themselves? No, it doesn't sound like it. So I think we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, this is Terry. Did everyone receive the kind of agenda that we had for today that we sent out? I think Ann sent it out earlier, and Maggie also sent out. the scholarship administration best practices, the topics that we'd cover?
Yeah.
Okay. So first we can talk about, and Ann, feel free to jump in. We've talked about the decentralized versus centralized. We've kind of mentioned that. In addition to what I think Ann and I experienced, I've heard a lot of people like SUNY and Hawaii where you have multiple institutions, so you might want to also discuss the centralization or decentralization between the campuses, let alone between one campus. But what are you seeing as maybe difficulties, your biggest difficulties in having that decentralized process? And I'm looking at where departments do their own scholarships, they're maybe reporting back. It's hard to ask the question because everybody's doing something so differently, but I think, and feel free to jump in, but maybe just see what what struggles are having.
This is Susan from the University of Colorado. I think one of our struggles with the decentralized process is first the underutilization of the funds in the departments, and that they are either not fully utilized because there's frequent turnover, that there's too many hands in the pot that have to manage them, whereas if they're centralized, I think there's better control.
Has anybody had any luck in working towards this goal? I mean, maybe without academic work, without a management system, but on your own, coming up with some way to remedy this situation? Because I have the same thing. It's our departments, sometimes it's the chair, sometimes it's a sports staff person, sometimes it's the scholarship chair. I never know who should be getting the information. It's different everywhere. And so I feel like I'm not getting, because I have to give them the account balances every year, what they could spend at Western, and I don't know who it goes to. And it may go to a department and it never gets to the right person. And then the advertising doesn't get done properly and things like that. So I'm curious to see if anybody's had any initiatives that might address that without going through a scholarship management system.
Terry,
Yeah,
this is Ann. Can you hear me? Okay, I was having some phone troubles, but at NIU, what we've done is establish what we call our college scholarship board, and we just have our business managers or scholarship coordinators from each of the areas, and we meet probably once a semester. And this way, when there is turnover, that new person knows that this is part of their duties, is to attend this board meeting. And then we try to talk about processes and procedures and deadlines and that sort of thing. We went for a while where we didn't have board meetings, probably for about a year, and everybody was very annoyed. They really liked those board meetings. They want to be a part of that. So that has worked for us. One challenge that we do still have is we find that students kind of play off of us on this decentralization. They know about this, so they go to different places in the university to ask for assistance, and sometimes 3 different areas will give a student a scholarship, and it's not until they get to financial aid that we realize the student has $10,000. And so we're the ones trying to say, do you really want the student to have a $10,000 refund? And going back. So that's just been a challenge because they don't know what other people are doing.
Okay, that's a great idea. When you reached out to people, to departments, because we have like student services scholarships where they're Greek scholarships, and it changes every year who the contact is. How did you get everybody on board to select your scholarship board? Because we would need it from all areas.
Yes, it's not everybody in the whole university who has ever touched a scholarship. It is more of those major players. It's the academic colleges, it's honors, it's our office, you know, and then I would be responsible for reaching out to some of those, you know, like the other organizations and that sort of thing.
Okay. Has anybody else?
Oh, I have a follow-up question for Anne. Have you been able to get people to coordinate the application deadlines and things like that through working together as a board?
Yes, we have. Some still insist on having their own deadlines for various reasons. And it's really come down to we've had to take a hard line and say either you are approved or you're not approved to do this. And we have the backing of our upper administration to do what we need to do. But sometimes, for example, visual and performing arts, their deadlines are later because students audition later.
Mm-hmm.
They're not auditioning in October and November. They're not auditioning until April or May. So, you know, sometimes there's reasons, but yes, by working together and just building this communication between this group of people, we've really made a lot of strides.
Anne, can you hear me?
Yes. Is this Helen?
This is Helen. Hi, Anne.
I knew that was your voice.
Well, it just took me a while to, I finally gave up on the computer and did this through phone. So anyway, I can hear everybody, and I'm sorry for late joining. But I guess my question for that was, you know, when you're talking about approval of applications, so are you saying that the upper administration approves separate application processes, or they approve separate deadlines, or both? I just wanted to be clear on that.
Our administration is encouraging us to do whatever we can to use our scholarship resources wisely, and we are in the process of exploring Academic Works to help us do that. So what they've said is if we are getting pushback from the other areas, that my office as a central office can say to departments, you need to change your deadlines, or at least you really need to think about changing your deadlines. And of course, we approach this very collegially and not with an iron fist, but we do. I think it's very important to get the backing of the provost, of the president's office, of whoever is the higher up.
Okay, but universally you're seen as the standard setter for application deadlines,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, and so are these individual deadlines for a whole bunch of different applications, or
yes.
deadlines for a central application?
At this point, the applications are all over the place, so still very decentralized, all individual applications or application processes all over the university. But again, we're trying to establish at least, you know, a time of the year
deadline
where you'll find deadlines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
This is Sarah from Indiana State University. I wanted to touch on a few things that have been said. We developed a centralized scholarship office, and we're one of the first adapters of Academic Works several years ago. It has been the vehicle through which we have been kind of pulling our control of scholarships into one area. We have presidential backing, which is a necessity because we have to sometimes be the police and the bad guys as far as establishing some rules and regulations to try to rein in the variety of procedures. And like some of you mentioned, we had scholarships that hadn't been awarded in years. We were underutilizing our scholarship dollars, and frankly, there were some units that were misawarding scholarship dollars. So we really needed to have one area that was taking a critical look at that whole entire piece, and that was us with the use of Academic Works. But to speak specifically to deadlines, what we did with our units, and it worked fairly well this past year, we set up a calendar to kind of give them, like you were saying, bracketed timelines, so they could have their applications available for these certain months, so they could decide when exactly it went up, when exactly it came down, as long as we had their selections by X deadline. So it allowed the department some flexibility based upon their type of student, the type of scholarship that they were looking at. So that's a model that worked fairly well for us. But frankly, too, we went out to the department we had to do a little dog and pony show because, like you said, that it could be the admin, it could be the chair, it could be 5 people together on a committee. It takes a lot to just even manage the personnel involved.
Right.
Can I jump in here? I just wanted to say, this is Helen Carter from Texas Tech. I didn't get an opportunity to talk through the introduction part, but we also have what you would call a centralized, decentralized system. You know, we have university-level scholarships, and then colleges and departments manage their own. We have an internal scholarship management system that helps us with the whole people being able to see what others are doing to kind of achieve the leverage thing. But over time, and I would say over 10 years of time, there has been you know, centralizing scholarships, really centralizing scholarships has been a topic of discussion, but it's never happened. And it's, again, you know, we have kind of a new president now, and so it's, again, a topic of discussion. And so I'm just curious, are there folks there who have moved from really a decentralized system to a completely centralized system? And if you did, how long did it take? and how did you achieve it?
And Helen, can I add something to your question? If you did do that, how much staff did you have to help you do that? And the reason
Good question.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the time to do it, so I'm just curious to see what support you had.
Yeah. So, anyone out there care to speak to this?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. This is Malia from the UH Foundation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can speak a little bit to that because we've kind of done both over the last maybe 8 years. We had a completely decentralized process, and still do, at our flagship campus at Manoa. And this is just speaking to our portion, the foundation portion scholarships, where majority of scholarships are held. We have about 1,000 different scholarship accounts across campus. Some are endowed, some are annual, and although the foundation is not involved at all in the application or selection process, I have personally been involved because it was affecting our donations, of course, when nothing was happening correctly. So we got very involved in pleading with the university to fix the problem. And somehow I kind of led the charge from the foundation standpoint. And it was because of what I've learned at like NSPA conferences and things that have helped me to make the recommendations. But what we did at the flagship campus was we created with the university a interface software system called STAR. And basically our vice chancellor had to say, we are going to advertise all of the scholarships, whether you like it or not, to all the deans and directors across our campus. And they're all going to be advertised at the same time. And he kind of gave them a year's notice, saying, you know, do what you want this year, but next year we're going to be doing this because we can't have, this is really difficult to speak with students, our high school counselors and parents to give them information on how to apply for scholarships. We had to ask them 10 different questions. Well, what college are you going to be in? What campus are you going to be at? And yada, yada. So they just made that decision from the chancellor and vice chancellor's level to do this. And we created this interface. Every account administrator who is responsible for the money at the foundation, they have like online access where they can look up their accounts at any time. They have a password, a username, and that helped us to generate emails to each of them, reminding them of the money that they have in there. We created a application system, which then flows interfaces into the payment request system that comes to the foundation. And then once we approve things on our side, it flows back up to Banner to the student's account in financial aid so that they can package. And although not everyone makes selection when they're supposed to, we're getting better. It's taken years. Some still feel that they are an exception and don't need to follow the timeline. But for the most part, the application season is from mid-November to mid-February, and that's for our flagship campus. And for all other 9 campuses, we got all 9 campuses on one central scholarship manager application. And they were happy because basically it still gives them control with selection, but basically there was one central administrator at the system level that collected the applications, advertised things by campus. Students just fill out the one really long application, but it pretty much will make them eligible for more scholarship opportunities. And then each of the campuses can pool their own applications from that. And they can see, what other offers have gone out to students, whether it be financial aid, scholarship, or what their EFC is. So it's worked pretty good, but every year we fine-tune it and hone it.
Okay, Malia, we do something very similar to that at Texas Tech, but everyone's, we still have individual ownership of the accounts. So what you're saying is your process is centralized, but your ownership is still decentralized? In other words, accounts are owned by colleges and departments and the university level. All of those people are players, right?
Right. So as good as the process is, we still need people to comply with timelines and deadlines, and that's where we're still struggling a little bit. But now, we've given them
which are common problems for us too. Yeah,
and so basically the Vice Chancellor announced last year that, okay, for the rest of you who are not complying and, utilizing the funds, we can't have funds sitting. So he says if you don't award it by a certain date, then we will come in and award it for you.
And so have you done that?
That's going to happen this year.
Okay, so you haven't done it yet. Okay, I'll be interested in how that goes for you.
Oh, the response.
I would be curious to know. This is Brenda at Western Carolina. If anybody else has done that, because we have a similar issue, and we've written into our scholarship policy that if departments don't award within the given time frame, that the University Scholarship Committee can step in and make the award. And we've not done that yet, but I'm just curious if anyone has taken that approach.
We have at Indiana State, and we have awarded when they haven't.
We don't have a written policy for that, but I do in the spring semester. I get a listing of those that haven't been awarded, and I go after the departments. I've also created, we use Penn Tahoe to where I'll tell the departments, if you're having trouble finding eligible students, let me know. I will do a query to find eligible students. But if they if there's any applications out or not, and just not moving themselves and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, I'll take it back, and I'll tell them that. If you can't award it, I will. And we have good results that way. Things are late, but that's the way it is. Our donors expect their money to be spent.
And so you actually have taken the reins and done the awarding and been successul at it. You're talking today, so nobody's killed you.
Yeah, in most cases the department's gotten on the ball. I'm nice for the first couple times, and then the third time it's like, if you don't do this, I will. I have a couple times, and in most of those cases the departments are so busy or there's not much coordination that they don't care that I've taken it over. But I've taken a couple back permanently because they didn't award them, and they. Okay,
and you got the authority to take them back from the development office, from the chancellor's permission policy. That's what gave you the opportunity to take them back.
Usually, it will be I talk to the department, and if they're okay with it, but if not, I would go to. I'm in the foundation office, and I know that was one question I had. I know Malia is, but I think most of you are in financial aid. I'm through the foundation side, but yet I'm employed by student services, so it's kind of mixed up. But I would go to our executive director of foundation, and they'd pretty much back me because they want the same outcome that I do.
Okay, and you're with what institution now? I'm sorry.
Western Illinois University.
Western Illinois.
I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but it has happened.
This is again. I know I have a meeting with one of our college's deans tomorrow morning, so this topic is very close to my heart. Our foundation assigns where the scholarship is housed. So it comes from them as to whether a scholarship is at the department level, the college level, or just at the university scholarship office level. And that is often a point of contention as to, the departments think it should be in one particular location, and the foundation may think that the donor wants it in a different location. So I feel your pain when it comes to questions like that.
We actually have it written in our gift agreements as to who will recommend recipients. Do you have that as part of the gift agreement?
We do, but part of the problem is that sometimes the departments change or go away, or sometimes it gets messy.
Right.
If I could step in for a second here. It's Philip again from University of Michigan Flint. And now I kind of got the idea of what you guys mean by a decentralized and a centralized system. So I would say our system here at U of M Flint is mainly centralized as much as we can. So I'm not sure if you guys do this or have heard of other institutions doing this as well, but we have one scholarship application for students that are continuing students that run from December 1st through February 14th, typically around Valentine's Day. And the student does one application, and that one application then makes them eligible for different scholarships depending on their major, their GPA, etc. And if they submit additional documents according to a scholarship. So we kind of have, like similar to how academic works, but we have an internal system that our ICS team built for us that kind of manages that. So for the most part, all of our scholarships are handled in one kind of like cycle here. And within that, we have like committee members and stuff that are all assigned access to the system to then select their candidates for each of the scholarships. So I would say it's a pretty nice centralized system, but the biggest issue that we have is like things that you guys mentioned there of awards that are where there's limited candidates that are available, but then also like awards that are no longer in existence anymore in terms of like departments being changed and different things like that. So I think really kind of maintaining is our biggest challenge of changes in the institution.
This is Terry from Western again. So in those cases where maybe a department becomes defunct or renames or totally realigns, how many of you work with your foundation office or that department's development director and have them go back and contact the donors to see what they want to do now, if they're still living, of course?
Yeah, I would say that's the main thing that we do is go back to the donors as much as we can. Or we work with the development office, go back to donors. But that's a very real situation that we have with the donors no longer being available, and it's just like their funds have been endowed. So it's like, how do we strategically make changes and stuff? And sometimes the changes that come up kind of deviate from our system that we have in place. So it's like, if that's no longer a major, but now it's a, it's a minor, or it's a, what do they call that thing? Like a special side program that a student can take. It's like, how do we build that into the system, without it changing a lot of how it processes other things?
I know we have changed our endowment agreements to say, if the donor, if we can, but if they're not living or something, then it gives the foundation the discretion to use it in the donor's best interest. So we put that wording in there now for that reason, so that we can make changes later and be as close as we can to the donor's original intent.
challenge that we see too is what the foundation sees as the donor's original intent and what the department sees as the donor's original intent. That can be a fun conversation.
I can tell you, I just spent this, and I'm almost done, I'm hoping next week. I have been working for 3 years. We have over 1,000 foundation accounts, and I have, in my spare time, pulled every document for every scholarship, have put together, I've updated all the criteria into a template that we now use, so every scholarship, foundation scholarship account has the same template, and I'll be glad to share it with anybody. And then for every department and their development director, I created a binder. It has documentation. It's paper. I realize it's paper, but I've told them, when you leave, you'll leave the binder. That way somebody else can come along. And anytime that I update criteria, I send the paper version. I say, put this in your binder so it has all the history and everything the scholarships have. And everybody's been very appreciative of that. Like I said, it took 3 years, and I'm not quite done yet. It's a long process, but it's paid off a lot. And I tell them, look,
Terry?
Pardon? Yes, this is Terry.
Okay.
And I tell them to make sure that they're awarding according to that criteria and advertising as well.
So which key players do you give that information to? Like, is it to that specific chair, or is it like just like, so it's the department has that, or is that something that you gave to everyone, or like who actually has that document?
I gave it to every chair, and I gave it to the deans, the development director for that college. So both of those people, like athletics, it goes to the director of athletics. Student services, it goes to the student services office. Busset, who works with the scholarships. I'm more than happy to provide her, or they can make copies. Some of the departments want several people to have that, which is fine. But it's normally who it goes to are the chairs and then the development directors. And then we also have foundation training once a year. We have 4 or 5 different repeat sessions where we invite anybody on campus if they want to learn about foundation accounts or awarding scholarships. Too, because a lot of people have said, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So development conducts a training for scholarship.
I do. I actually do as the director of scholarship.
I do that. I do that as the scholarship, university level scholarship person. I do a training every year for how to use our system and some best practices for awarding and some things like that. It's not necessarily in accounting, but it just very basic stuff about scholarship, how to handle scholarship accounts. But I've been doing that for about, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years, something like that. But people have to want to come, and what I see is the same people over and over. Not the ones that really need it, but the the ones you wish would come are not the ones that come. So that's also a challenge, is to get all the players, I guess, to participate in the training.
Yeah. Something we did, this is Malia from the University of Hawaii. All of we were like you, Terry, we were doing things like that and just over and over, and people would lose the binders, and it just got to be so crazy. But one nice thing that we've been able to do as we were transitioning to this online interface system is, so from the time an account is established, once the gift agreement is signed and processed, that account administrator is emailed the electronic version of the gift agreement that outlines all of the criteria and spells out who's on the account. And of course that can change over time, but it also has a function where the document is scanned in there, so even as years go on and new account administrators come and go, the most up-to-date account administrator assigned, there usually has to be at least 3 people on an account. That's part of our policy. They are emailed monthly, reminding them of the money that they have in their account. And And then when they log into our system, which is like an online bank account, they can see activity in and out of their account, but they can also access the scanned document at any time. So if for any reason a binder like that is missing, then they can at least access it that way. And of course, yes, we have to have these trainings to show them how to log in and do all of that. But what was nice was when we created the application and payment system, of course, both application and payment system, they're tied together on the back end so that the criteria on the application is the same on the payment system for the account administrator. So when they're processing a payment to us, they can review the criteria again. It's all in the system, and we do that on the foundation side. We plug all of the criteria in at the time of establishment. Of course, it was a pain in the butt to go in and enter all that stuff to set the system up. But once we put that work in, now going forward, just every new account, we're putting it into the system so that everyone can see it, whether it's foundation or university administrator.
So, Malia, whenever you do that, then what is the sign-on security or permissions process for people to access your foundation system where you enter all of the requirements? I mean,
so
does everybody across the university have that, or do you have to grant permission to them as people come and go?
We have the access to go in and input all of the criteria into the system, but then the university has the access to make the selection. I don't have access to that piece, but I get to approve their selection or not. So it's an interface that we have, interface software that our IT office created. And,
right, but do those university people, I mean, they're given one access to one system and they can see back through 3 layers of systems? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but only for their accounts that they're authorized on. Yeah, right. Whereas I can access all of the accounts, but their login is tied only to their respective accounts on both.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's been pretty awesome what our IT teams on both sides have been able to do, and the interfaces between the Banner financial aid piece and our account information. So I didn't even, as a development person, I wouldn't know that kind of magic could happen. So, but it's been so helpful because now there's no excuse for them to say, oh, I didn't know that, I didn't have the paper, or, well, the application I got said this, or, you know, so we've been trying to eliminate as many excuses as possible.
Does anybody have any other comments for the centralized versus decentralized?
I did have just a general question here, and so it sounds like there's a few of you that are looking at academic works are actually using it. I was just curious, what's the level of like IT support that you guys have for that, or is it all something that's just kind of managed in-house by a staff or an individual?
Here at at the University of Hawaii, it's pretty in-house between our foundation and the university IT person.
Can we go? Is it Susan and Sarah? Are you the only two who have academic works in place now?
This is Susan. Ours isn't live yet. We're going live in the fall.
Okay.
So we're still doing implementation.
Can we? Can I call you if I need? I just sat through a presentation yesterday. We're looking at them, and Smarter Select, Wise Hive, and Award Spring. He used to be CapEx, and I know one of our sister institutions here in Illinois uses them also. But I guess the other question is anybody else looking at academic works or another management system right now?
Could you mention the third one that you had said, Award Spring, Wise Hive, and what was the other one? This is
Wise
Deb
Hive, Smarter Select.
Smarter Select. This is
And
Deb Polka,
Award,
Award Spring.
Award Spring used to be CapEx.
Right.
They used to be stars, CapEx/stars.
Yeah.
And I have those presentations next week, so I can't tell you what they're like yet. They're doing webinars for us.
This is Sarah from Indiana State. As I said, we've been with Academic Works for several years now. I'm happy to talk with you, or Francie and I can both, about utilization of that system. We've had very little IT involvement to date. We are putting in a project request soon to accomplish API between Academic Works and Banner for automation of our posting of awards. We looked at CapEx stars last summer. It's interesting that you mentioned that. We're actually considering switching, and then they could not handle our volume. So I'm interested to hear what you learned from that new iteration. But yeah, we're happy to talk to whomever. And we're at the Academic Works Conference every year in Austin, so give us a call.
Okay, thank you.
And this is Maggie. I wanted to just mention that many of the organizations or companies that you have mentioned will be at, exhibiting at the NSBA conference. So if you're planning to be at the conference, you can probably go to see their demos or visit with them individually at their booth.
This is Ann Hardy. We've been, NIU has decided to go with Academic Works, but we have not secured the budget for it yet. We have a plan for how to staff it, which will cause lots of issues with our office, but as I'm a one-person office, so we have to be creative with that. But we do have the IT support. We have the buy-in from the departments and colleges, so we really just need the monetary buy-in.
Does anybody have any other questions or anything you want to ask everybody?
I think this is Deb Polka again, and I think the reason I'm so interested in Academic Works and maybe in some of these in-house solutions is obviously help us work more strategically, work smarter, and I'd like to hear if anyone has had some specific successes in terms of helping not just the central units, but your decanal units really focus on how to use scholarships more effectively for enrollment management, both for obviously recruitment and then retention. For example, possibly even seeking out the students that you think may not persist unless they get a scholarship, and reaching out to them and matching them with scholarships, because I know that is one of the things that would be possible with Academic Works. I mean, could we talk a little bit? Other people have that question as well?
Deb, this is Ann Hardy again, and Deb, I wish I had the answer, because that's something that we're very, very much talking about on our campus. And so we're really working towards that, and I think the first step, which we've done now, is getting all the other players to talk about it, because you have to inform and educate everybody, because they're not necessarily aware of how scholarships can be used as those kind of tools. So that's the place that we had to start at, and now we're continuing those conversations and those partnerships around campus.
Yeah, that's where we're at as well.
And I think Philip was trying to talk, and I was interrupting him.
No, I was just saying that's the same situation we have here. Like we want the answer to that. Like what are some strategies that some of the other institutions? So like what are you guys doing to try to help in that strategic enrollment sense in the utilization of scholarships? I think that's a big question across the board that would be good to find out or come up with some strategies.
Right, and this is Deb again, but stacking awards is an obvious thing, for a group, a cohort of students that you're really trying to increase your yield on, right? And we may have the opportunity, but we're not getting at it because we don't have the buy-in. People aren't taking the private philanthropic scholarships and utilizing them along with our merit scholarships in that way yet.
Part of
One of the things that we're doing at Texas Tech this year, we've had a college, the College of Human Sciences, decided that they would like to, for every College of Human Sciences person that we offered our, recruitment type merit scholarship, our presidential merit scholarship that's based on test score and class rank, they would, for everyone that was said they were going to be in the College of Human Sciences, they would give them a like award with half the value. So if for example, a student qualified for a $6,000 presidential, then the College of Human Sciences would give them a $3,000 College of Human Sciences scholarship. Same thing, 4-year scholarship, same GPA requirements and renewal requirements. So we've done that for the very first time this fall. I don't have results on that yet. We'll see after our census date comes about how that, if that changed behaviors or how it worked, but we are trying that right now.
Great, great. Yeah, we did that in nursing, and I'm mostly looking at need-based because at University of Buffalo we have merit that are need-blind, and so many of these other philanthropic scholarships do allow you then to, look at the need, and so that would be the way to really blend the two. Thank you.
This is Brenda at Western Carolina. I think we've got a lot of the same questions on our campus, but one of the things that I feel is very limiting to us is that so many of our endowed funds have very limiting criteria, so it makes it really hard to go after the students that you really want to stack awards because they just don't qualify for some of the scholarships we have.
Yes, and this is Deb again. We did some of that work when I was in fundraising at Arizona State University, where we went back methodically, year after year to donors or to families of donors, and renegotiated those agreements. And we just said they just aren't working for the university anymore. And it's a lot of legwork, but it's worth it.
This is Malia at University of Hawaii. We had to do the same, and I think we've become smarter about the kind of gifts that we received. We are no longer accepting criteria that is just too cumbersome, and as much as we appreciate their thought, we just have to stay away from those kinds of gifts, and it's been a tough decision to make. But when you're at a level like we are, we have over 1,700 different scholarship accounts. We just have to make it work for the institution. So we do our best to negotiate with our donors to make sure that we're still capturing their intent. We write things with a lot of preferences instead of must-be's, so that if we have that kind of student, then great. But yeah, I think we've learned a lot of tough lessons from some things that we've agreed to in the past. And now that we are working more strategically with the institution and not separately as just a foundation, I think we've become wiser in, making things more manageable for the university to administer. So we are being very, I guess, stringent in the kind of gifts that we will accept for scholarship aid.
Anything else? No?
It looks like our time is about up. So, if anybody has suggestions for our next phone call in September, you can just email Maggie or me or Terry, and we'll try to incorporate that into our next call, and I hope everybody can plan on attending the conference.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Aloha.